I think one of the biggest surprises is how much power we actually have. I think once I took responsibility for being the director of my movie, so to speak, everything changed. I was done, Chrissy, because every cell in my body was screaming, it's time to leave. You did what you were supposed to do. And so I felt like even though I did not know what was happening next, I trusted that I had just enough inside of me to find my way forward.
If it's aligned with our highest good, if it is to be, then there is flow. And if there's resistance, you feel it. Now I decide, how long do I spend banging myself into this door? And then you twist the doorknob and it just springs open effortlessly. I just stepped into the flow of energy instead of fighting the resistance. You're listening to Solving for Joy. I'm your host, Dr. Chrissie Ott, a multi-boarded integrative physician and professional certified life and career coach. This podcast is about joy, what it means, how we find it, and the creative ways people are solving for it in their own lives. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of the Solving for Joy podcast. I'm so excited to bring you my new friend, Dr. Sheri Rosenthal. She is the founder and chief retreat strategist at Wanderlust Entrepreneur, where she helps heart-centered entrepreneurs create transformational and profitable retreats. Over the past 2 decades, she has trained more than 20,000 retreat leaders to design, price, and promote experiences that are not only impactful, but also financially sustainable. And if you have ever run a retreat, you know what we're talking about. She's also the CEO of Journeys of the Spirit, a boutique retreat planning agency that has produced over 1,000 global retreats since 2003. Sheri has a unique path of solving for joy. It has been anything but predictable and ordinary. And I love that about her and so many of my sisters and brethren on this path. A former podiatric surgeon and surgical residency program director, she made a courageous decision to leave medicine and follow a spiritual calling, eventually leading to her studying for 8 years with Don Miguel Ruiz, the author of The 4 Agreements and more. So Sheri's all about reinvention, trust, and creating work that lights you up from the inside out. I cannot wait to share this conversation with you here. Sheri, thanks so much for joining me.
So much for having me, Chrissy. I'm really excited about this. So thank you so much for all you do.
Yes, it is my pleasure. We have had a few delightful conversations leading up to today, and I just celebrate this unique path that you have carved in the world. I remember having like a wait, stop the presses moment when you told me about working for 8 years with Don Miguel Ruiz and basically living and breathing the 4 agreements. So we have got to start there because that's just a one of a kind story.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Ask whatever you want.
Well, tell me, how did you connect with that as a possible thread of reality in this world?
Well, basically what happened was I was in the process of selling my practice. So
Your podiatry practice.
Yes, the podiatry practice and closing down the residency program. And I knew that the new people were not coming in until the summer when their residency ended. So it was November, and the practice was sold in 2 months. And then I had to figure out what I was going to do in April during the Easter week when normally we close our office. So I was like, I have to do something because I'm starting a new life and I have no idea what I'm going to do. My parents were absolutely convinced I'd be living out of a bag under a bridge somewhere. And I think I told you my sister, she didn't speak to me for a year because she thought I was being fiscally irresponsible.
Oh, and she needed to punish you for it, actually.
Yes.
So she had a thought, she believed the thought, she judged you with the thought, and then she punished you from the thought. I hope that things are much better now. Bless her heart.
Yes, we're talking. Yes. She still thinks I'm strange, but she's not the only one, and that's okay. I don't mind. So I had loved Carlos Castaneda's books when I was in college, and I would have loved a Toltec teacher, but Carlos wasn't alive, and I didn't know of any other one. And I had done some Googling and realized there was somebody, Don Miguel Ruiz, and I looked into his work and decided, okay, let me see if he's got anything going on, like a workshop or something I can do during that time. Well, serendipitously, he had a retreat going to Mexico. During that exact period of time, I'm like, this is definitely meant to be. I am signing up. So I sign up, never had been on a retreat before. And one very funny thing that happened was when I got to the retreat and they were gathering to have their first opening meeting, I opened the door to the room and I see him sitting on a couch, little brown guy looking just all glowy, and all of these people sitting around him. And the first thing that went through my head is, what did I get myself into? Obviously, there's this guru thing going on.
You're like, is this a cult?
Exactly. And the thought that came in my head is, these people are from California. Growing up in New York, right? We're hardcore. Yes. We don't do that kind of thing. So I had all this judgment going on in my head, but it was quite funny. And he must have seen a look of horror on my face. And so he went like this, with his finger saying, come here. So I went over, I introduced myself, and he said, sit down. And he just kind of captivated me. And it was like that ever since. That trip changed my life, not because I knew what I was going to do with my life after my practice was sold, but I knew I needed to learn more, and that I realized what the source of my issues were in my life, which was me, which was shocking to me. I thought it was like Medicare and my practice and my parents and my sister and my ex-husbands, which I had 2 of them. And so I thought everything was outside of me that was causing my life issues. And it was a revelation to find out it was me and that I was the only one that could fix that. So it was a process of taking responsibility for myself. And it was difficult, and I cried a lot, but it was worth every tear. And after the first year or two, the person that was running Don Miguel Ruiz's business needed to move on. And he asked if I would run his business for him, which I did for 2 years until he had his heart attack. And so we closed the business down for a short while. And then he got a new business manager. And he said, Sheri, you need to get out there and start teaching the work. And so that's what I ended up doing after selling the practice, studying with him and teaching the work and writing a few books. So
wow,
that's what ended up happening. And it's the best thing I ever did in my life, ever.
That is amazing. I think about the power of serendipity and how we don't always know when we are in a transformative, serendipitous, sliding doors moment where our lives would have changed 100-fold if we left the house 5 minutes later, or that one decision. I mean, if that was your first retreat, was it your first retreat of all time? And then one of the things you did along the way was teach thousands and thousands of other people how to hold retreats and how to intersect them with a successful business plan. Which so many people leading heart-centered retreats are just like, I just need to get this creative impulse of service and connection out of me. I don't care about the money. And then, it turns out when the money goes sideways, we do actually care about the money because it can be harmful to us. Not just, I don't care if I make a lot of money, just like we have to kind of care if it's potentially harmful to us financially.
Well, one thing I learned from Don Miguel Ruiz is, if you don't have an exchange of energy, you're kind of holding up the flow of abundance in the universe. So if you don't charge properly because of whatever issues are going on inside of you, it's like putting your hand up to the universe saying, no, I don't want this. But then you don't have it to give to somebody else because now you're living in lack. And so that is something that a lot of heartfelt entrepreneurs don't always think about. They're always saying, well, I want to make sure everyone can attend and that the pricing is right. But they're not really realizing what they're doing to themselves and how down the line that's creating issues by stopping that flow of abundance.
I'm guessing by the way you speak about this is a common experience that you have seen.
Very often, usually. So, yes.
Typical. I am having, my first experience leading a large conference-like gathering, the Physician Coaching Summit. And I feel you. Like, this is the back end, the business end. That's not why I said yes to it. Right. And it is why I need to pay a lot of attention to it. And it is certainly a big part of the learning trajectory and the uncomfortable growth that I am experiencing along the way. Vulnerability, transparency, realness. And so I'm so grateful that you are teaching this work out there, and I cannot wait to absorb more of it from you.
My pleasure.
So backing up to, you had sold your practice, by the way, 2 months, amazing, fantastic. I had a practice that I closed without successfully selling it. So I have a special, entrepreneur practice owner appreciation for you getting your practice sold in 2 months. It's amazing.
And that was a crazy story in and of itself.
Yeah. Tell us about how did you decide that you needed to close your practice, and then how did it serendipitously get sold so quickly?
I think I was done, Chrissie. And maybe because I'm a crazy Aries and that's how my energy flows. I'm not sure. But I was done. I was absolutely done. I knew I was finished and I needed to move on.
How did you know? How did you know?
Because every cell in my body was screaming, it's time to leave. You did what you were supposed to do. And that actually is a whole entire story in itself. But
this part of your mission is complete, and now your body knows it and your brain has to catch up somehow.
Correct. I knew it was time to leave. And so I felt like even though I did not know what was happening next, I trusted that I had just enough inside of me to find my way forward. So I put the practice up for sale in our journal and some other place that you're supposed to put podiatry practices up for sale. But what ended up happening is I got a phone call from my school, from one of my former teachers. And while I was in school, I was a teaching assistant for the biochemistry and physiology lab while I was there. And so everyone knew who I was. I was like the yearbook person to one of those people that does everything.
You're highly involved. Yes.
So highly involved. And the teacher said, I have a couple who are really fantastic and they want to purchase a practice in Florida around your area. Do you know any practices for sale? I was like, yes, mine. Okay, I'll connect you immediately. And the husband came to the office and saw the practice, stayed for a little bit. We talked, and that was it. Practice was sold.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
At exactly the price I wanted. And also, I had bought the building and renovated it. So the office was stunning because I'm a creative person. I love decorating. So the office was beautiful. He ended up buying the building a few years later also. So it worked out really great for me. And I knew it was meant to be. Everything like that
Yeah.
happens in my life for whatever reason. And once I set my intent, this is what it is. It's just a matter of it unfolding.
If it's aligned with, you know, I will use the word like our highest good, but like if it is to be, then there is flow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like something like that happened just last week for me, where I've been testing different ideas and theories and trying different things, right? And testing different doors, metaphorically. And if there's resistance, you feel it. And then you are like, okay, now I decide, do I like put my shoulder against and like resist back? And how long do I spend banging myself into this door? And then you walk across the hallway and twist the doorknob and it just springs open effortlessly. And then that serendipity arises again. You're like, oh, now I'm in flow with whatever it is that is wanting to come through me. You know, whether that be understood as God's will or your destiny or whatever, there is some kind of, oh, I just stepped into the flow of energy instead of fighting the resistance.
Exactly. I agree 1,000%.
And the right people just show up at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Or the right words get spoken when you're ready to hear them.
That's how this business got created, because I had been teaching the 4 agreements for like about 12 years. And then a student of mine had passed away, and I knew it was time again to move on to something else. And I wasn't sure what to do. I took a business coaching program, and I had a little fighting with the coach. Like, she was pushing me in one direction, and I felt like it didn't feel right to me. And I do trust my gut feeling. And I just sat with it and got friendly with one of the gals also in the program. And she really inspired me. She had an aromatherapy business and she was doing quite well. And it just made me think to myself, what do I know really well that I really love? And I wasn't even thinking. I had the travel agency since 2003. I never thought to teach retreats, which I love. It was just the weirdest thing. And then I realized it's sitting right in front of your face. And I did some market tests, to see if the concept would work. And they went very well. And I started the business in 2014, and it's gone really well ever since.
That's amazing.
And I love my students. They're incredible. We have people doing every kind of retreat that you could possibly think of. You name it, I have seen it. So I love inspiring people to create what it is that they've always wanted to do, no matter whether or not someone else thinks it's a crazy idea. Because if somebody has an interest in that topic, you can do a retreat around it.
What would you say to people who are, solving for joy and feeling that sense in their bones and all of their cells that they might be done with a certain chapter, but all of their safety apparatus in their brain is saying, no, 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 I will not listen to this. How do you, hold space for people growing their courage to make a pivot?
I think for most of us, we go through multiple pivots in life. And I think the most important part is understanding and having faith that you will survive, and that we have so many things inside of us that we can rely on that often we don't realize exist in there. There is fortitude and bravery and inspiration, and there's so much. And when we let go of the naysaying internal dialogue, and we focus on our skills and our ability to communicate and share and love. When we move in that direction, that's when possibilities show themselves. Like, for example, in my situation, when I went even from teaching the 4 agreements to Wanderlust Entrepreneur, I went through 2 years where I just couldn't see what was coming next. And it's sometimes just going with the flow, knowing that it will reveal itself at the proper time. And in the meantime, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So for actually those 2 years, I helped out one of the residents from the other residency program in my area who I knew because we often got together with all our residents, and worked in his practice part-time while I was building Wanderlust Entrepreneur. And I just think that it's the inner faith. Even if you have no idea, you will not end up on a park bench if you understand that you have all of these resources inside of you. They're always there. It's just being open to all of the opportunities that are out there. They're there. We often don't see them because our mind is focused on something. And then what's right in front of us is we're not able to see it. And it may be yelling at us, but our attention, energy flows where the attention goes. And so your attention is on something you think should be. And meanwhile, it's right in front of you.
It's like,
So
I'm right here.
I'm right here.
That is speaking to me so much,
Yeah.
Sheri. And I think, so many of the physicians and high achieving professionals that I coach are in some space like that where they haven't had to take a lot of faith-filled steps before. They've always known, or at least thought they known, what the next 3 steps might look like. They had more of a multiple choice test laid out in front of them, and it's actually kind of an essay exam at this point where you're like, oh, that's my creativity that needs to come out.
Yes.
And I've been taking, more and more faith-filled steps and being more and more willing to go first, to go often, to be the one in the, I don't know what's coming next, but I know something will arise. And, just 2 weeks ago, something came to me in the middle of the night that was like irrepressible, made all the sense in the world. And I would not have thought it I could not have contrived it. It was not a tactic or a strategy as much as it was just I waited and it arose.
A knowing. Yeah. And that's the thing that we always think we have to know. And one of the most interesting things that happened while I was studying with Don Miguel Ruiz is I had an experience of 3 days where my mind totally shut down. I had no thought forms at all, just a silent mind. And in that experience, I realized that I actually don't need to think at all. Really, the ability to think is more like a calculator, to figure things, sometimes. But actually, everything is already inside of you that you know. And once you move the internal dialogue out of the way, that's taking all of your attention. Now your attention is on the infinite instead of on the finite. And that made me realize, even though all of my thoughts came tumbling back in 3 days, which was excruciatingly painful, the bottom line from the experience never went away. Is understanding that I am not my mind or my thoughts, and that those thoughts are characteristic of I am not instead of I am. And I am is always there, but I am not is getting in the way. Like, I can't do that. That's ridiculous. How am I going to survive? How am I going to make money? What are other people going to think about me? Well, I can tell you that even with the changes I've been through, I don't think my parents still exactly know what I do. And I still have colleagues that think I'm crazy. Like, who goes off and studies with some shaman somewhere and then ends up like teaching about retreats and has a travel agency? I I don't know. I at this point in time feel like I could do anything that I set my mind to.
Mhm.
If it's, meant to be and it's in my heart and it's coming
Mhm.
from that infinite
Yes.
higher self. So I think it's the same thing for everybody. They just, I mean, as physicians too, and professionals, we're so used to depending on our thinking. It has saved us and propelled us forward through our entire career. So that in itself is a challenge to let go. Some people say let go and let God, or let go and however you want to word it. But it's really letting go and letting the process unfold naturally instead of trying to control it.
What you are saying is the Sheri Rosenthal way of saying all of these subtle teachings from yogic and Tibetan
Yeah.
Buddhist traditions, where we make space. We notice that the contents of the mind are illusory, that they are, of course, not only are they not us, they have no actual existence unto themselves other than that which we create for them.
Yeah.
So we can opt out of any thought, any belief, any identity at any time, which is not saying that we have a magic wand. It's just our attention creates our reality. And you're talking about, the path to awakening in different ways as we approach that as humans on a journey of hopefully some kind of spiritual evolution
Hmm.
and service while we're here.
Yes, exactly.
And I love that it can be all these different shades and colors and have the same underlying message.
Yes, exactly.
What has been a source of surprise to you along this journey?
I think one of the biggest surprises is how much power we actually have. So I would say for me, how much power I actually have
Mhm.
for creating and functioning in my dream of reality. And I think once I took responsibility for being the director of my movie, so to speak, instead of depending on everyone else, everything changed. And I guess that was surprising because I think the way I grew up was feeling more powerless, coming from like a middle to lower middle class family where we didn't have a lot of money, and my mom didn't work, my father was a sheet metal mechanic. It's like, and we lived in Brooklyn in an apartment, and there was nothing powerful about our life. It just seemed like it you were at the behest of whatever was going on in the world.
Mhm.
And understanding that everything comes from me changed everything. So I would have to say that's been one of the most surprising realizations in my life, is how much power we actually have and what we can create with that, bad and good, depending on where we're coming from.
Yeah. So much about free will. I like that answer. I think it is surprising how powerful we have the potential to be. We have made lots of reference to Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements, and I imagine a lot of people who listen have some familiarity, but there may be some who don't. And also, it's always fun to revisit the Four Agreements. There's never a time when they're not stimulating?
So for those who don't know, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word, which is the most difficult of all of the agreements. The next three are in support of the first, even though most people will tell you the second agreement is the most difficult. It actually is not. So the second one is don't take anything personally. And all of us take everything personally, even when we think we don't, but we do. And then the third agreement is don't make assumptions. The fourth agreement is do your best, whatever that may be that day. So the reason why the first agreement is so hard is, so when you look at where the word impeccable comes from, it comes from the Latin impeccus. It comes from the idea of shooting an arrow to a target. And when you miss it, that would be called sin. So it's about not sinning against yourself and hitting the target. I know this sounds a little abstract, but
no, there was a conversation on the podcast actually in November with Becca Claren, who was talking about the Jewish tradition of describing sin. I think she said hashet. I could have the Hebrew wrong, but that to sin was literally to miss the mark.
Exactly. It is an archery term. That's where it comes from. So by, for example, saying to yourself when you look in the mirror in the morning, God, I look like crap. And we all do it. Like, look what happened when we first got on. I said to myself, gosh, I look green. It's like, on my computer screen. It's like we say things like this, and I recognize it because I hear it myself, and it makes me laugh now. But that subtleness is negative.
Yeah.
And so we're always sending these negative messages to ourselves and believing things that are not necessarily truth. So we're often missing the mark in our speech, whether it's out of our mouth or in our head to ourself, because it's still the word. It's just where the word is going and who it's aimed at. So that is why a lot of people think, oh, well, I speak kindly. Well, that's fine. But how do you speak to yourself when no one is around? What are you saying inside?
About yourself or about others.
Exactly. So that becomes really challenging. And the second agreement about not taking anything personally is an exercise and practice in dealing with the ego mind, because you only would take something personally when you're sitting in a place of ego. You're making something that someone else said or did about you. But whatever the person said or did is about them, their belief system, what they think and what they believe. Now, you may happen to be there experiencing it, but it's actually not about you. It's about them. So not taking things personally helps us stay in an emotionally neutral place when someone is speaking to us, and to recognize they are feeling or believing something. And then we can ask ourselves, well, maybe I was being rude or something, or maybe I was not, but at least you could be honest with yourself and then move forward and proceed in your conversation with that other person, or take actions, that are clearer.
Yes. Or in today's toolkit, evaluate the difference between intent and impact and notice that they both exist.
Yeah. So that would be, not taking things personally. And then not making assumptions is the brain, the mind, the way it works, it just fills in whatever spaces it doesn't have information for.
Yeah.
So that things make sense to it. and it may be coming to an incorrect conclusion, which is something that my husband and I joke about a lot, because he'll say something like, oh, that person is X, Y, and Z. And I'll say, honey, how do you know that? Why do you believe that? And what are the signs of that? He says, no, I just know. I'm like, no, you don't. Your mind is fabricating that based on your point of view and what you believe, but we have no evidence of that. So we have those kind of fun conversations, but that's what the mind does. And then the last agreement about doing your best is to understand that, especially for like perfectionist people like myself and people that like are driven, that sometimes you're not having a good day and that really you're not being impeccable with yourself if you don't respect that. So do your best. That could be 60% of your norm one day if you don't feel good. So you just have to recognize that your best changes from day to day. And we need to respect and honor that in ourselves and in others. Because when you have employees, it could be the same thing. Someone doesn't come through with something, and then you really need to, instead of screaming at them, why isn't this done? Is like, is something going on today that you were unable to complete this task? So it just helps on both sides for better communication and human interactions.
Powerful words to live by. Yes. I remember the section about impeccable with your word. Don Miguel Ruiz talks about poisons. Like when we speak, especially words of like labeling and identification, whether to ourselves or to others who are influenced by us, we are producing or swallowing poisons when those things are negative, or limitations. Even if they're positive, they can be constrictive. You're so smart actually inhibits your ability to be a fully open learner, because there's a part of you that wants to always perform to that label. I remember hearing that a lot as a child, and it made it hard to be a beginner at things. And that's a trait that I carry with me and, still work with regularly. I have to actually work at being a beginner and acknowledging, I have an opportunity to not be good at something here.
Yes.
I've recently decided to learn chess. I'm learning chess on Duolingo.
Wow.
I've never been taught chess. We didn't have a chess playing family, and I'm a beginner at it, and I'm really enjoying being a beginner at it without any expectations, or just learning for the sake of micro learning.
It's one of the pleasures in life. I'm learning how to play mahjong, which I think is really fun. And I know nothing.
I only played mahjong, and I played it a ton in the it was probably like the late 90s when Apple had a tile game on the computer, and I would play mahjong with the tiles on the computer. Who remembers that moment in time?
That's funny. I like it.
Yes. You have an event in Croatia coming up. Sheri, tell me about that event and what you're looking forward to in it.
We have a retreat on a private yacht that I rented. It's 106. Yes, it's 161 feet. It has like 17 or 18 rooms on the boat, and a private chef and a captain, and lots of water toys. And we are going to cruise from Dubrovnik to Split and back, and just stopping at the different islands and jumping in the water and exploring what's on the different islands and enjoying, and also spending a few hours each day masterminding our businesses. So many of my retreat-minded community are trying to increase their online businesses, whether they're doing programs or products or retreats themselves. And so we are going to be in community, and each person will have a chance to sit in the love seat, as I like to call it, and have their ask and get reflections from everybody else. So, based on their experience and what they might
Mm.
be feeling and seeing and thinking regarding what their ask is. And so, they'll get to make friends, maybe develop a few joint venture partners, or just, just new buddies, entrepreneurial buddies. But we're going to have a lovely time. And obviously, we teach retreats, so we do retreats, and we teach in many ways. I mean, I have an online course that we're known for, and we also do a big online event every year that we're also known for. We did our 5th year this year. We had over 5,000 people joining us, which was like crazy exciting. The energy was intense. And we had people from all over the world. So that's exciting because they all want to do retreats in their own languages. And it's just a lot of fun. And you get to realize that each of these people who are creating their retreat are going to help all of those people. So it's like this wonderful energy emanating out with all of these people that I get to help, and then they get to help and uplift the world and, just share the love. So it's really quite delightful.
I'm seeing concentric circles on a pond, like from a
Yes.
rainfall, like circle, 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 and unpredictable where they might intersect and play together.
Exactly.
That's so amazing. When are the dates of the Croatia trip again?
The Croatia trip is August 22nd through the 29th of 2025. And our live event we do online happens every spring. So this year it was May, last year it was March, next year it will be the 3rd week of April.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I mean, a floating mastermind for a week.
Yes.
You had me at Dubrovnik, but then you really had me at water toys and island hopping.
And eating. We have a chef.
Oh,
We're
yes.
going to be treated. And then in some of the places, we will eat dinner on some of the little islands that have really sweet restaurants because we want to support the local economies. So that'll be a lot of fun too.
So that is 1 month from today that we are recording. So when we hear this on the actual podcast, it might have already passed or it might be happening, but I just wish I could Zoom myself there and join you.
I would love you to Zoom yourself there and join me. That would be just so lovely. Yes. But yeah, we have things going on all year long. Obviously, that is something particularly special, but we try to do things so some people cannot travel. And that's why we do our big online event. And then sometimes people can travel and they get to come on a retreat with us. But whatever the case may be, we love educating our heart-based entrepreneurs. And one of our favorite thing is coaching them through that process of learning how to design, price, promote, monetize their retreats, and to do it safely and legally, which is an important point for me. And
it's a giant asterisk.
Yes, exactly. We want to make sure our people understand that this is not to be taken lightly. You have people that you're taking care of and you need to do that correctly. So we want to take good care of our people who are entrusting us for this wonderful transformational experience. So
You've mentioned to me that there are some legalities around selling travel in particular, depending on what state you're in and what country you're in and what you're including in your package. So, I mean, it's just like one little teaser of how to know what you don't know.
Exactly, exactly. It is very important to have insurance on your retreat. And, look, a lot of us who have been physicians in the past, we have malpractice insurance. We know the importance of having insurance in your business. And it's the same thing if you're running retreats. It's not benign. I mean, someone could be stung by a bee and go into anaphylactic shock. And people
Yeah,
who do retreats are not physicians and may not know what to do in that situation. So we always want to educate well, make sure they're insured, make sure they have legal forms, and are following seller of travel law if it applies in their state and country. So
mhm.
those are the legalities that we always train people on to make sure that they're safe. And that way, once all your legal I's are dotted and your T's crossed, then you can be fully in the experience of transformation without having to think about those things, because I don't like thinking about them when I'm in that environment of creativity and working with my people. So I think most retreat leaders feel the same way. They love the transformation process, not the dotting of the I's and crossing of the T's. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's giving me lots to think about. I have an emerging dream of hosting a Tuscan retreat.
do it, do it, do it.
I feel like it wants to happen in 2026, but I need to
Yes.
take a couple beats because I have more ideas than I have time and investment resources.
Yep, that's what happens when we're really creative and we're in that place and all those ideas come bubbling up in the night and we wake up with these like, oh my gosh, I should do this or I should do this.
Yes, yes. Another idea is wanting to be born. I'm so glad that you are doing all that you are doing and have done, Sheri. Thank you for just educating people in this work and doing it with your particular bright light.
Thank you, Chrissy. I really appreciate it. And I hope that, at least my background and story inspires somebody to step out and do something that they've always wanted to do, but been afraid to do.
Yes, even
Because
if it's wildly different.
life is short. It is so short. And one interesting thing is when I did go to sell my practice and told my patients, the younger ones were upset. The older ones, interestingly, every one of them said the same thing. Life is short. And I wish that I did everything that I wanted to do instead of being worried about what others thought about me. And it's just, I can't tell you how many patients said that to me. But, a lot of my patients, they were in their 90s and active, and
Yes,
I really heard them.
they were
And it's
speaking wisdom to you.
exactly.
Yes,
And
yes,
really saying it like it is, that now's your time, you're young, take a chance. Who cares what other people think about you? Who cares?
yes, that's right.
They're not living your life. You are. You're living your
Yes,
life. You're in charge. So whatever
yeah.
it is that you want to do, you must make a way to do it.
We did not choose a life on this planet or incarnate, if you believe in that verb, to assimilate. We did not do it to match a pattern of what was laid out for us. We did it to bring our own little fire. So
Yes.
I think that that is such a crucial part of solving for joy, finding your own meaning, your own alignment, and then
Mhm.
delighting in it.
Absolutely. Because you will never solve for joy if you're not doing what you want in life and you're doing what your parents wanted you to or what
Yes.
society's expectation is of you.
Yes. May you keep solving for joy wherever it takes you next.
Thank you so much, Chrissie. I
Thank
feel
you,
a
my
new
friend.
adventure coming on, so we'll see where that goes.
I will be staying tuned. Thank you,
you.
Sheri.
Thanks, Chrissie.
Thank you to Dr. Sheri Rosenthal for sharing this remarkable conversation about her journey from surgery to spirit, reminding us that reinvention begins when we choose trust over fear. From the 4 Agreements and Don Miguel Ruiz to the art of leading transformational retreats, Sheri has shown us that joy often lives on the other side of letting something familiar go. Next week, we shift from the business of purpose to the heart of parenting with pediatric dietitian, author, and podcast host, Jill Castle. Her podcast is The Nourished Child, highly recommend, and her book, Kids Thrive at Every Size, reframes how we think about nourishment, body image, and confidence, inviting us to feed our children's health and their spirit at the same time. Together, we will explore how to raise thriving kids in a world obsessed with size. And a quick reminder, the Physician Coaching Summit at Savannah Wellness Resort and Spa in Carefree, Arizona is now less than a month away. It's not too late to join us, November 6th through 8th, for a CME accredited weekend of rest, renewal, and connection, with an optional full moon yoga nidra on the evening of November 5th to begin your reset. As always, a gentle reminder, I'm a doctor, but not your doctor. Nothing in this episode is intended as medical advice. Please consult your own trusted clinician. Special thanks to our spectacular producer, Kelsey Vaughn, and to my spectacular wife, Sue. May you trust the timings of your own transformations and follow the call toward whatever lights you up next. See you next time.